Why does success so often fail to make us happy? Why do people who have achieved recognition, wealth, and stability still wake up with a sense of unease, as if something essential were missing? Erich Fromm begins his reflection precisely from this silent discomfort that modern life tries to ignore. He noticed that many individuals are not suffering because they lack achievement, but because they have confused achievement with fulfillment. They have learned how to function, how to perform, how to succeed, yet they have forgotten how to live. Fromm does not accuse or moralize. He invites us to pause and ask a deeper question. What kind of life are we actually building? Fromm was born in Germany in 1900, into a world structured by authority, obedience, and rigid social roles. He lived through World War I, the collapse of European civilization, the rise of totalitarian regimes, and the expansion of industrial capitalism. These historical shocks shaped his conviction that psychological suffering cannot be understood in isolation from social conditions. Fromm believed that many modern anxieties are not individual failures, but logical responses to a society that values productivity over presence and possession over being. At the core of Fromm's thought lies a simple but unsettling distinction: the difference between the having mode and the being mode of existence. In the having mode, life is organized around possession. We ask, what do I have? What can I acquire? How do I secure my position? Identity becomes something external, fragile, and dependent on constant reinforcement. Success in this mode is never enough because it always points to the next goal, the next comparison, the next fear of loss. The tragedy of the having mode is not material comfort itself, but the anxiety it produces. When your sense of self depends on what you have, you live in permanent insecurity. There is always someone with more. There is always the risk of losing status, relevance, or control. Fromm observed that this anxiety quietly erodes joy. People become restless, impatient, and emotionally exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they are constantly defending an identity built on possession. The being mode offers a radically different orientation. Being is not about renunciation or withdrawal. It is about presence, aliveness, and inner activity. In the being mode, fulfillment comes from experiencing, understanding, loving, and creating. You are not valuable because of what you own or achieve, but because you are alive, engaged, and responsive to the world. In being, life is not something to secure, but something to participate in. Fromm believed this mode is essential for mental health, not a spiritual luxury reserved for a few. Fromm's reflections on love reveal how deeply the having mode distorts even our most intimate experiences. Modern culture often treats love as something to possess, a partner, a relationship, a guarantee against loneliness. Fromm rejected this idea completely. Love, he said, is not a feeling that happens to us, but an activity, an art that must be practiced. Love is the active concern for the life and growth of another person, while remaining rooted in one's own integrity. When love is approached from the having mode, it becomes dependency, jealousy, control, or fear of abandonment. When love is lived in the being mode, it becomes generosity, respect, and shared growth. Fromm emphasized that the ability to love others depends on the ability to relate to oneself without exploitation or contempt. This is why self-knowledge and self-respect are not selfish pursuits. They are the foundation of genuine connection. Freedom occupies a central place in Fromm's philosophy, but not in the simplistic sense of unlimited choice. Fromm argued that modern individuals are often afraid of freedom. Freedom brings responsibility, uncertainty, and the need to define oneself. Faced with this burden, many people unconsciously escape from freedom by conforming, submitting to authority, or dissolving themselves into roles and systems. This escape provides temporary safety, but at the cost of vitality. When freedom is avoided, life becomes mechanical. People do what is expected, not what is meaningful. They adapt, but do not grow. Fromm believed that true freedom is not rebellion or isolation, but authentic self-expression, the courage to live in accordance with one's values, even when this involves uncertainty. This kind of freedom cannot be granted by society. It must be cultivated internally, through awareness and responsibility. Alienation, for Fromm, was the defining illness of modern life. People feel disconnected from their work, from others, and from themselves. Work becomes a means to survive rather than an expression of purpose. Relationships become transactions. Leisure becomes consumption. Even identity becomes a product to be marketed. Alienation does not always produce dramatic suffering, but it drains life of depth, warmth, and meaning. The being mode counters alienation by restoring experience. In being, work becomes engagement. Relationships become encounters. Time regains texture. You are no longer chasing outcomes or managing impressions. You are participating in life as it unfolds. Fromm stressed that this requires courage because it means letting go of constant comparison and approval seeking. It means trusting that your worth does not need continuous proof. Fromm also distinguished between authoritarian authority and humanistic authority. Authoritarian authority demands obedience and suppresses individuality. Humanistic authority supports growth, autonomy, and responsibility. A mature person, Fromm argued, develops an inner authority, a conscience guided by reason, love, and care for life. This inner authority allows ethical living without rigid rules or fear-based control. In everyday life, Fromm's philosophy invites gentle but honest observation. Notice how often your thoughts revolve around having success, having security, having recognition. Then notice moments of being, moments of calm presence, creative absorption, sincere connection. These moments often appear simple, even ordinary, yet they carry a depth that no possession can replace. An easy life is built not by eliminating ambition, but by recentering life around being. Fromm was deeply critical of consumer culture, not because of material comfort itself, but because of the psychological mindset it promotes. Advertising teaches us to feel incomplete. Comparison intensifies insecurity. Productivity becomes identity. Fromm's response was not rejection of modern life, but conscious participation. You can live in society without letting it define your worth. Fromm believed that mental health is inseparable from values. A society that rewards greed, competition, and conformity inevitably produces anxious individuals. While you may not be able to change society alone, you can change your relationship to it. Choosing being over having, even in small ways, restores inner freedom and emotional balance. Applied to self-improvement, Fromm's message is profoundly calming. You do not need to constantly optimize yourself. You do not need to turn life into a project. Growth is not accumulation, it is unfolding. When you stop asking, "What else do I need?" and start asking, "How can I be more present, loving, and authentic?" the tone of life softens. Fromm's vision of an easy life is not passive or escapist. It is engaged, responsible, and deeply human. It is a life where success is redefined, love is practiced, and freedom is lived rather than feared. Such a life may not always look impressive from the outside, but it feels coherent and meaningful from within. And this is where the idea of an easy life finally reveals its true meaning. An easy life is not a life without effort, challenge, or responsibility. It is a life without inner war. It is a life where you stop fighting yourself, stop proving your worth, stop chasing fulfillment through possession. When you live in the being mode, effort becomes natural, relationships become nourishing, and growth becomes sustainable. As this reflection comes to a close, allow yourself a moment of stillness. Ask gently, Where in my life am I still trying to have instead of allowing myself to be? Where am I seeking security instead of presence? And what might change if I trusted that life does not need to be conquered, only lived? Sometimes the secret to an easy life is not achieving more, owning more, or becoming more. It is learning how to be fully alive, fully present, and quietly free, right where you are.